Thanks for tuning in for another video. Today I have the Watch 5 Pro versus the Watch 6 Classic. This is the 47mm. So what I'm going to do in the video is go over what's the same between them, and then what's different, and the notable features of each, and then which features I like on each and things I don't like about each. And after this video, I think you'd have a pretty good idea of which watch best fits you. So let's get started. So what's the same here? They both have the same military-grade durability. They both have IP68 water resistance and up to 5 atmospheres of pressure. They both have sapphire crystal for the screen, so it's a very durable crystal on the top, which is really important because that's the thing that could scratch the easiest. And they both have a Super AMOLED screen. Surprisingly, they both have the same sensors, so the Watch 6 did not get any sensor updates. So they both have the infrared temperature sensor, but right now it's really only used to help with sleep tracking and female cycle projection. They do have an app on here that you can use the temperature sensor, but basically you have to take the watch off and put it in what you're checking the temperature of. So if you're checking the temperature of the pool, you got to take it off and dunk it in the pool, before you go in, which I don't, is anyone doing that? I don't think so. I mean, you just put your hand in and check, right? Possibly in the future, though, it might have a software updates. But for right now, I don't think the temperature sensor is very useful. But again, it is the same hardware. So if there's a new software update on the Watch 6 that gets more features, you'll be able to translate that directly to the Watch 5 Pro. So no problem with that. They both can measure body composition. They measure the skeletal muscle, the fat mass, the body fat percentage, the body mass index, the BMI, body water, and basal metabolic rate. So they both do that. They both do have an ECG, which still has to be done manually on both of them. They do have a 10-watt wireless charger. So I'll just show you this thing. This I also use to charge my watch, and it's actually really convenient because I could charge my phone right here. I could charge earbuds right on the back here, and then I just put the watch right on top here, and it's a magnetic charger on there, so it will stay, and it charges at 5 watts. So not as fast, but really convenient. I don't have to find and dig out my charger where it is. I just put this here, put my phone there, and got my buds I could just put right back here, and they could charge all three at the same time. I did a full video on this, and subscribe if you're interested. I also put a link in the description so you can find it and you can go over the specs and see if it's something that will work for you. But real convenient for me. I love it. So they both have 16 gigabytes of storage. They both do have a raised bezel, which gives the screen a little extra protection. They both do have an SOS feature, and they both have fall detection on there. They both have the usual heart rate, SpO2, and stress monitoring. They both have a compass. They both have a speaker and microphone, which is really important because then you could make calls and take calls with it. There is an LT version on both of these, but it has about $50 to the price, and then you can make phone calls without having your phone nearby at all, which is nice, especially for emergencies. So both have a full keyboard, which is kind of what separates a lot of the budget phones and fitness trackers from an actual smartwatch. Obviously, you got your preset text down here that you could just click on and send off. But if you want to actually type something, just click on here, and then it pulls up a full keyboard, so you can type whatever you want there. And then if you swipe up here, you could do your swipe, you could do your voice to text or any of that kind of stuff. You got your numbers. So again, you could fully type out whatever you want to do, which is great. The new Watch 6 Classic did have a couple of software features, but all of them, as of this video, have been transferred to the Watch 5 Pro, and any new updates that the Watch 6 gets will quickly be transferred to the Watch 5. Again, there's no sensor differences between them, so everything the Watch 6 can do, the Watch 5 Pro will be able to do, and the Watch 5 for that matter. Now, a great thing about the Watch 6 Classic is they did come up with some new bands, which instead of having the pins here where you gotta use your thumb and kind of squish that pin out and then pop the band out, you have this thing. So all you need to do is push the button, and then you could slide that right in here, release the button, and then it locks in, which is really nice. And when I first heard about this, I thought Samsung was going to make this a proprietary thing, and then you had to buy only bands from Samsung. But any 22mm band, any 20mm band will work with the Watch 6, the Watch 5, the Watch 4. So if you have any old bands around the house, all the new bands will work with the new watches. So that's great. And this quick toggle thing is nice, but if you didn't have any problems with the pins, then it will work exactly the same way. So there are a couple of new features that the Watch 6 Classic got. Again, that went to the Watch 5 Pro, so they're similar, but just so you know what's going on with them. One of the new features is automatic heart rate zones. They also do have continuing monitoring for atrial fibrillation, which Samsung calls irregular heart rhythm notification feature. And again, that's always going on in the background. Then the other new feature is that they have automatic backup, so if you get a new phone, you could transfer your watch to the new phone without losing any data. There's updates to the Samsung Wallet app. Both watches now support WhatsApp and Audible. And there's also updates to Gmail and the Google Calendar. Neither of these watches could be used with Apple products, but they can be used obviously with Samsung and all Android phones. But you do get the most features if you use it with the Samsung. There are a couple of things that are disabled if you use it with an Android phone. Now let's get into some differences. So the Watch 5 Pro, this one comes in 45 millimeters, it just comes in one size, and this, for the Bluetooth version, is $450. The Watch 6 Classic, that means that it has a bezel. There is also a Watch 6, and it doesn't have the bezel here, and it looks similar to this one, like that, with no bezel, just a smooth front. Now, the Watch 6 Classic comes in 43 and 47 millimeters, and the pricing on that for the Bluetooth versions are $400 and $430 in the United States. And if you want to get an LTE version for either of these, add $50 to it. Some other differences is the Watch 5 Pro comes in titanium, so it's noticeably lighter. This is stainless steel. The weight on the Watch 5 Pro is 46.5 grams, and the Watch 6 Classic is, for the smaller one, 52, and the big one is 59 grams. So it's like 25% heavier for the bigger Watch 6 Classic. The screen size is 1.4 inches on the Watch 5 Pro, and they come in 1.3 and 1.5 inches on the Classic. So this is 1.5 inches. Now, I have this crazy watch face. I never used this, but I just wanted to show you in the video here the size of the bezels and the size of the screen. You can see the difference there. This is 1.4 inches, this is 1.5, and even though it's a small difference on paper, it actually looks much better, and the smaller bezel makes this look much nicer and more modern than the Watch 5 Pro. So for the processors, this one is the Exynos W920, and the Watch 6 Classic has the Exynos W930. It's slightly faster processor, about 20%, but I haven't noticed any difference between the two. The RAM, you get 1.5 gigabytes on the Watch 5 Pro, and you get 2 gigabytes on the Watch 6 Classic. So you do get an updated Bluetooth. You go from 5.2 to 5.3. The bezel, this is, some point of contention here. This is the digital bezel on the Watch 5 Pro, and actually it kind of grew on me. So you could just kind of rotate it like this, and it's easy to use with the bezel because it has the raised bezel and has a place for your finger, so it's very easy to stay on there. Now, I don't usually like to go all the way around because then you block, the watch face and what you're looking at. But what I got in the habit of doing is just kind of quarter turns here, and you can kind of slide through everything very quickly. Now, on the Watch 5 and the Watch 6, you have it like this, and you have the digital bezel again, but you don't really have a guide rail. So a lot of times for the quarter turns, it's okay. But if you want to do anything more, I usually kind of go off or overshoot or undershoot, and I just can't stay on the digital bezel that well. So for the, I did not like the digital bezel on the Watch 5 and the Watch 6. It just doesn't work for me. But on the Watch 5 Pro, like I said, it's really easy to use, and it's kind of convenient. I have no issues doing it. With the Watch 6 Classic, which is the bezel there. So obviously, if you want to use 2 fingers on this, or if you have gloves or sweaty hands, or you're using it for working out or something like that, then the actual physical bezel is much nicer, and you do get that haptic feedback. You get the strong click, so you know exactly where you're going with it and when you're moving it. So it is actually very nice. I, like most other people, were very upset when they got rid of this physical bezel. But like I said, I kind of got used to the Watch 5 Pro, and it doesn't bother me as much anymore. I still like that they brought it back, but I do wish they did have a 6 Pro that, people could decide if they did like that digital bezel, which I guess I'm in the minority. Most people, from what I've seen, most people don't like the digital bezel. But like I said, after using it for a while, I kind of got used to it. Now, get back into it. Let's get into battery size on these things. So this is the other big differential on this. The Watch 5 Pro has a 590 milliamp battery, and that Samsung says gives you 80 hours. And the Watch 6 Classic has a 300 milliamp on the smaller one and the 425 on the larger one. And Samsung says that gives you 40 hours. And that's, again, with the always-on display off. Well, honestly, for me, I get about 3 to 5 days on the Watch 5 Pro. And that's, using it. If I kind of baby it and, if I'm not working out and using GPS and things like that, like I said, I can get up to the 5 days. But I always get 3 days out of it. I don't think I've had it less. I usually don't run it down to 0. I usually charge it up every other day or every third day. But I don't have to, which is really nice. And I'm not always worrying about the battery because, I just have it. It's on my counter. It's on my nightstand. I go to put it on. It always has battery on it. The Watch 6 Classic is a daily charging watch. You might, if you really baby it, you might get 2 days out of it. Not a full 2 days, but, maybe coming home from work, you might just make it home and still have a little bit of charge left in there. But if you're using this for sleep tracking, if you're using it always on display, if you're using it for any kind of workouts, there's just no way you're going to get a full 2 days out of this. So basically, this is always charged on every day. If I wear it all day and, use it for sleep tracking in the morning, there's like 40-45%. So I might be able to get through most of the day, but down to almost nothing, and maybe running out. The battery life is a big miss on the Samsung 6 Classic, and this is the bigger version with the bigger battery. Again, it's rated for 40 hours, but I don't think if you get 40 hours, put it in the comments, but I haven't gotten there. Another difference is the brightness. So the Watch 5 Pro goes up to 1,000 nits. The Watch 6 Classic goes up to 2,000 nits, so double the brightness. I haven't had any issues seeing this Watch 5 Pro even in daylight. I haven't had any issues, but the brighter watch does look nicer, and especially if you're outside, you'll definitely be more visible. But if you get the Watch 5 Pro, I think you'll still be okay. So, some notable differences between them. The big thing that differentiates the Watch 5 Pro from the other watches and what Samsung really emphasized was the offline GPX file support and the route back tracking that it has. So you don't need a cell signal or GPS. If you're going biking or something like that, it will keep your path and it'll show you how to get back to where you started. And of course, it does have the digital bezel. Like I said, there it is. And the digital bezel, I think, like I said, I got used to it. And, if you hate it, then you hate it. But for me, it wasn't a big deal. But the big bonus on this one is the battery life. Like I said, that is really something that I'm always reaching for the Watch 5 Pro over the 6 Classic just because of the battery life. And I know I don't have to worry about it. So the Watch 6 Classic, what is to like about this? Well, they finally brought back, well, not finally, but they had the rotating bezel here. They got rid of it for the Watch 5 series, and they brought it back for the Watch 6. So there it is right there, and does give you some nice haptic feedback, and it does get you to navigate through the phone very easily, and you could navigate through the apps and things like that, with great ease just because of that bezel there. So that's really nice that they brought that back. Like I said, I really love it, and if you really like this, then definitely the 6 Classic is the way to go. But and there's some slight changes in the hardware, but not that much, and all the sensors are the same. So any updates that the Watch 6 gets would be through software, and they would be able to be transferred to the Watch 5 Pro. So you're not missing out on any new features in the Watch 6, except for that bezel there, and also the much thinner edge bezel there on the screen. So you can see them here. I have this wacky watch face here, so you can see the difference in the screen size and that bezel there. This one looks much more modern and, just kind of nicer than the Watch 5 Pro. So let me get into some things that I liked and didn't like about each of these watches. The Watch 5 Pro, you probably guessed, it's the battery life is really the selling point on this thing. Really nice. The digital bezel, like I said, you either like it or you don't, but for me, I had no issues with it, especially with the guide rail that it gives you there. And it has all the same sensors as the Watch 6. So any new feature you get on the Watch 6 would be coming to the Watch 5 Pro, and the Watch 5 Pro is lighter, which, you could definitely tell the difference between them. It's not a deal breaker, and I like heavier watches, so it doesn't bother me having the Watch 6 Classic. If you want a lighter watch, then you definitely want to go with the Watch 5 Pro. So some cons. The Watch 5 Pro is a little thicker. So let me just try to show you this on the video. You can see here, not that much difference, honestly, but it is a little thicker there. If you could see it, it does stick out just a bit more. You do get a slightly smaller screen. This one is 1.4 inches, and the Watch 6 Classic is 1.5 inches on the bigger version, and you can see the difference on that screen size there. And likely you'll get one less year of updates because it's 1 year older, but, who knows what will happen in the future. But technically, you probably will get 1 year less of updates than the Samsung Watch 6. So some pros on the Watch 6 Classic is it's a bigger screen, as you can see here, and it actually, like I said, it does make a big difference. It does look nicer. I like the thinner bezel there. It really does make it look like a more modern, nicer watch. The rotating bezel, like I said, I love it. The digital bezel didn't bother me, but if you definitely have to have the physical rotating bezel, then you got to go for the Watch 6 Classic here, and then you can just decide which size you want. So with the Watch 6 Classic, they did come up with a new band. Again, we got that quick release on here, which is really nice. I have, this is not the band that came with. I just took this off, and this is a fabric band. I like these with you just adjust the size once, and then you could just slide it on your hand, and it stays at the, where it's supposed to stay, which is really nice. I actually really bought these because my daughter had really small hands. Small wrists, I should say, and then so I had to get one of these here, and this one I'll link it in the description because it was actually hard to find one that was so tight and small. So if you have a kid that you're giving this watch to, or as a gift or something like that, these bands work very nice for a very small wrist, and my wrist is 7.5 inches, and this one fit just fine. You can see I got a little more room. I could tighten it on there. The only disadvantage of this band is that when it does get wet, like washing your hands or something like that, it kind of stays wet for a little longer than the other bands, but not a deal breaker. But, if it gets sweaty or wet, it just lasts a little bit longer and takes longer to dry. So, again, I'll put it in the description. You could look at it. They're fairly inexpensive. You got like 3 or 4 of them for like $10 or $12 or something like that. So you could see if that's something of interest to you. Now, back to the watches. Now, the con of the Watch 6 is that it is a little heavier. Again, it doesn't bother me because I kind of like a heavier watch, and it's definitely no heavier than any standard watch would be. But as smart watches go, it's a little heavy. If that's something that, if you can't stand, you have a little fitness band and it's too heavy for you, then this is not your watch. But otherwise, I don't think it should be any kind of issue. Now, the biggest con is the battery on this. I was really disappointed with the battery. It's a day and a half on the watch. So basically, like I said, this is a daily charging smartwatch. So if you're okay with that, then great. If that's a deal breaker for you, then the Watch 5 Pro is definitely something you need to get into. For sleep tracking, I wear these not every night, but when I test them out, and sometimes I just leave them on through the night. This one is a little, the Watch 5 Pro is a little thicker, and the Watch 6 is a little heavier, but I didn't have any issues wearing them through the night. I had no problems. So if you were able to wear another smartwatch, I don't think you'd have any issues. If you have a thin fitness band or something like that and that bothers you, then obviously these wouldn't be your ticket. And usually for sleep tracking, I think it's the comfort is more to do with the band than anything else. So maybe you would consider changing that, and that might make it a little more comfortable for you. So I went into the pros and cons and the similarities and the differences and what I like and don't like. But the other thing to keep in mind is that the Watch 5 Pro, the retail price is $450, and the Watch 6 Classic, the smaller one, is $400, and the bigger one is $430. That's for the Bluetooth versions in the United States. But now also keep in mind this one is a year older, so you're probably going to get some more specials on here and probably better trade-in values and things like that. So if you're kind of deciding between the two and they don't really make a difference with anything I said here, and price is your determining factor, then maybe the Watch 5 Pro might be the way to go. So look around for that. If there's any comments or questions on this, if I didn't cover something, or if there's a big point that I missed, go ahead and put it in the comments. Just phrase it nicely because I have very thin skin. But otherwise, please subscribe and click the like button. That really helps me out, and I will see you on the next video. I am going to do a full review of the Watch 5 Pro, a long-term review on this to let you know how it held up and with the newest software updates and all that kind of stuff. And the Watch 6, I'll do a full review on that and also go into one where I go over all the tips and tricks and all the hidden features on it, because there is a lot of advanced things you can do on this. So please subscribe, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks so much for watching.